Okay, it gives me great pleasure to be in conversation with Vijay Shekhar Sharma, the man of the hour, as well as Madhur Deora, President and Group CFO, 197 Communications. Gentlemen, a big day and excitement ahead of Diwali with this mega IPO. So to start off with, you've actually increased the issue size. Tell us what led to doing that. Is there that much interest in what's going to be possibly the biggest IPO even after Coal India?
Yeah, thank you for having us here, Abha. Obviously, the amount of interest that investors showed kept on growing, and we were asked that we need minimum this allotment, minimum that allotment, and we knew that it will be very tough for us to even fulfill their base expectations. So Madhur's suggestion and the banker's suggestion was, why don't you consider increasing the IPO size? So we did it.
Well, fantastic. We've seen some exciting videos of you doing a little dance, Vijay, which we pulled out from somewhere.
Okay, for the record, that's a 3-year-old video.
Yeah,
one of your team, Mr. Rahul Kaval, came to our office. This is not now. This is not related to the event. Just want to put it on the record.
No, but it's brilliant. It's brilliant, and it's really what embodies you as a leader as well, who's in the moment. But tell us, the big question, of course, continues to be path to profitability, what it'll take to break even, the kind of timeline you're looking at. Just share with us the latest. I know you've released the last quarter's numbers and the kind of uptick you've seen across certain segments. But share with us the plan.
Yeah,
I think Madhur has absolutely good numbers. Yeah, Madhur.
Yeah. So I think, like you mentioned, we released our June numbers. Obviously, last year was hard to understand from a financial performance standpoint because of the COVID impact in the first half, some impact in the second half. But we showed our June numbers, which shows that we are up about 62% year on year in terms of revenue. And we have basically tripled our contribution profits, right? So we made about 80 crores of contribution profits in June quarter last year. Now we're making 240 crores. Close to 27% of our revenues, right? So one of the first step for us to be eventually EBITDA and cash flow profitable is to generate a substantial amount of contribution profit. This number 2 years ago was a negative number. So the fact that we have turned that into meaningful amount of contribution profit, and we think it sets us quite well in terms of being able to absorb all other costs in our contribution profit in the future, right? So I think if investors sort of extrapolate this with whatever assumptions they want to use, they can get a better feel for when we should be profitable. Unfortunately, we are prevented from giving any forward-looking numbers, obviously, but I think that metric sort of helps investors form a view.
Okay. What about the kind of breakup that you're seeing across segments, whether it be lending, insurance, payments? Where do you see, the most opportunity going? I mean, again, you can't give me forward-looking scenarios, but even currently, what is the breakup looking like?
Yeah. So we can tell a little bit about the strategy, right? So clearly, the first business that we do really, really well is payments. So within payments, on the consumer side, we are seeing customers use more wallet. We are seeing customers use more BNPL, which is Paytm Postpaid. On the merchant side, we are seeing our merchants really adopt not just QR code, but also sound boxes and devices, right? And as a result, you would have seen that, in June quarter last year, we did about 1 lakh crores of merchant payments. In June quarter of this year, we did about 2 lakh crores of merchant payments, right? So over 100% growth year on year. And we're making more revenues in that segment and so on. So that's going really well.
Okay.
I think the commerce, we have a commerce and cloud business, which includes ticketing and software and advertising. And that is growing quite fast, but obviously some of that is COVID impacted because entertainment ticketing, travel ticketing, and so on. So we're seeing some recovery there. And finally, financial services, which is our biggest opportunity, a new opportunity, which is lending, insurance, and wealth. We already have a bank, which has 65 million customers. But if we do a good job of lending, insurance, and wealth, then we believe that there's a lot of value that we can create. We are seeing, so wallet has been a fantastically resilient product, right? Customers love wallet for its convenience, for the control that they can have on the spending, for the fact that it has really good success rate, the fact that it has a great merchant network. So Paytm Wallet stands as, and in wallet, actually our market share has gone up basis the data that we have seen over if you see a long period of time over the last 3 years and 5 years. And we have hundreds of millions of customers who have done KYC for Paytm Wallet. So that has been a fantastic product for us and continues to be a fantastic product for us, right? The focus, like I said, is we continue to grow wallet and BNPL. We continue to grow devices on the merchant side, but also bring now financial services, right? So 4 years ago, Paytm Payments Bank started. 2 years ago, we started working on lending. Just to be clear, we don't give loans. We don't do FLDGs and so on. We help our financial services partners bring loans to our consumers and merchants. And that business in its first year, last year, was 3 million loans, right? So in all of March 2021 year, we did 3 million loans. In the last quarter, we did 2.8 million loans.
Okay.
So that business is roughly 4x the size already, and tremendous opportunity to grow that. And we feel like we're solving a real problem, right? Where hundreds of millions of our customers don't have access to credit, certainly don't have it as easily available as they could on Paytm app. So that's something that we're really excited about.
Okay. Okay. I'm just going to probe this a little bit more on the payment front, Madhur. Again, I know that you're diversifying, but on the payments front, of course, while it continues to be one of the bigger sources of revenue, margins are always far lower on that side. It's largely driven, of course, by cashback as well. And that's, again, been, an area of criticism or questioning as to, whether or not that can really sustain the business model or drive profitability going forward. So are you anticipating, the model changing a little bit in terms of the holistic play that you have?
Actually, I would just break that up a little bit, which is that take rates in payments go down. On P2P, obviously, it's zero. Like, so if I just do money transfer, it's zero.
Yeah.
But on merchant transactions, overall take rates do come down over time. And we have been a big champion of that, right? Because we believe that if the take rates come down, more people will use it. And as a result, we'll do many more things with them, which is commerce, cloud, financial services, and so on. But the profitability of payments for Paytm has actually gone up, right? So what you're describing as a market circumstance today was also the market circumstance 2 years ago, which is that payments was low take rate, didn't make money, and it was driven by cashback. I think it was around almost exactly 2 years ago that we slightly took a divergent path where we said that payments have to be break even, right? Okay. So if you see our numbers, we used to spend 3,400 crores of cashback 2.5 years ago per year. Last year, we spent 500 crores of cashback. So all of the growth and all of the consumer growth, merchant growth, GMV growth that you see in Paytm over the last 3 years has come in that backdrop where we dropped our marketing spends by almost $400 million, almost 3,000 crores, right? So so our focus is we want to grow very, very fast, and we want to be as efficient as we possibly can be.
Okay, so talking about efficiency, and as you know, some of the recent tech listings, even as Zomato, faced a lot of, talk around valuations being called absurd, especially given, the fact that, we still got losses, negative cash flows across many tech companies at this time. How would you defend some of that? Because there are concerns that this is a frenzy, that there's, a lack of a sustainable business model. And I know I'm asking you a very sort of broad question. I know that you've done your round of investor calls and clearly you have all of this thumb down, but just to allay investor fears on this front.
Yeah, listen, so the way any company works, which is a listed company especially, is that no one stakeholder decides valuation, right? So company cannot just decide valuation, neither can analysts, nor the press, nor the merchant bankers, and so on. Ultimately, it is supply and demand, right? And investors effectively in that sort of process define the valuation. What I could tell you is that we could have priced this higher. There's a lot of talk about Paytm going at this number and that number and this number. None of that was from us, by the way. But we could have priced this higher, and we chose not to. It was important for us that, who knows what the right number is, but it was important for us to not go for the extra every last dollar and extra dollar. And it's also important that we have really good quality shareholders, a decent anchor around, and so on, right? So, so what you'll see, so the way we measure success is not the valuation number and so on. The way we measure success is obviously how the business is doing, and whether we are getting really high quality partners to partner with us as much as possible in the process of an IPO, whatever SEBI allows with respect to anchor and so on. So we won't do the IPO. We won't try to sort of push the IPO or shove the IPO down investors. It's where the investors, especially high quality investors, are very comfortable. And then you leave some on the table, right? So that's our approach, and hopefully that approach will work well for us.
Okay, no, that's great. That's great for shareholders to know. And I know that you mentioned lending and how that's becoming a fast growing vertical, and that's something that we've all been watching with interest. The ambitions to become a small finance bank as well, are they on track? Is that going to be the model that you'll imply as you go ahead? Again, to answer this the best you can without it being forward looking.
Sure. There's a possibility that under the guidelines that RBI has and may have at the point of time, we have an opportunity to apply for a small finance bank license. But just to be clear, even if at a time in the future, Paytm Payments Bank becomes small finance bank, we would continue to work with all our lending partners, any lending partner who works with us. So it's not like, oh, Paytm used to work with partners and now it works with its own bank. That is not the model. We think the opportunity in India is so big that we want to address, that we want to work with all partners. Anyone who has appetite to lend to someone, anyone who has the balance sheet to lend to someone, anyone who has the technology to create great consumer experiences in partnership with us, we want to work with those folks, right? So if anything, even if let's say 2 years from now, Paytm Payments Bank or at some point in the future is a small finance bank, they might be one of the partners for the company that's called 197 or Paytm. And we'll continue to work. And we've made a huge amount of progress in the last year to work with fantastic partners on lending side. So you would have seen, I'm not talking about anything which is not in the DRHP or in the public domain, but if you look on our app, you get a BNPL from Aditya Birla Finance. If you look on the app, you get a credit card from HDFC. And that, as long as our partners are willing to work with us, we would continue that model.
And is a full-scale banking license something as well that would be part of the overall vision?
Sorry, can you repeat that, please?
Would a full-scale banking license also be something that would be a potential part of the overall vision?
We don't, there's no sort of concrete roadmap at the moment that we know of where some Paytm Payments Bank has some sort of pathway to apply for a full-scale license. But to be honest, for the segment that we serve, small finance bank is not that different, at least in my understanding, than a full-service bank, right? Because we're not going to be in the business of giving large corporate loans, for example, right? That's just not where we believe we can add maximum value. That is not in sync with our mission of bringing 500 million Indians. So our business is to give, to make sure our consumers and merchants have access to loans, small ticket loans, 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 5 lakh, 10 lakh rupee type loans. And vast majority of what we wish to do could be done with partners or through small finance bank. The incremental value of having a full service bank or not having it, I don't think stops us from doing the types of things we want to do.
Madhur, I know that you're stretched on time, but can I squeeze in one last question on just the competitive landscape, and with some of the big tech players coming into segments like payments, for instance, and other financial offerings, how geared up is Paytm, with to sort of ride the wave when it comes to the evolving competitive landscape?
Yeah, so I think, listen, P2P transfers on UPI is very competitive. And it should be, because it's very low barriers to entry, right? So anyone can create an app, connect with a bank, help you create a handle. And especially on the top of that, if you're willing to give cashbacks, then yeah, you'll have some share. So, but that is also incidentally a business which makes zero revenue. And we actually internally don't even define that as payment. So when I said we did 2 lakh crores last quarter, that does not include P2P, because we don't even think of that as payments. We think of payments only when we have an identified customer, identified merchant. So I think that market will be competitive, perhaps more competitive as more and more players can come. I think the important thing is that you constantly add more technology and offerings to stay relevant to the consumer and merchants, but more importantly, to kind of understand what the pain points are and solve them. And so, for example, merchants want to accept payments using QR code. We know that Paytm started that over 5 years ago, really scaled up during demonetization. We were at 5 million merchants. Now we are 20 plus million merchants, right? So we know QR code. But QR code is great, but it's not sufficient for every merchant, which is why we launched Soundboxes, which is why we launched devices, because merchants want more technology because it solves more problems for them. So you want to be an agent of that, right? So same thing on the consumer side. UPI is great, wallet is great, but they also want BNPL, Paytm Postpaid. So you want to be an agent of that. So you have to constantly think about new services, and that keeps you ahead of competition.
All right, Madhur, thank you so much for your time. Good chatting with you. Good luck, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Yeah, sorry, Vijay got dropped off. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for having us.
Bye then.